G'day everyone, welcome back to the Spring Boot tutorial series with me, Beny Sartono. In the previous video, we explored the structure of a Spring Boot project. Now, we're going to take things up a notch by connecting our app to a database and creating a complete CRUD REST API using Spring Boot and JPA. First, let's add a few dependencies to our project so we can work with databases. Open your Postman.xml file and make sure these dependencies are included. org.springframework.bootn.com.h2 database. We're using Spring Data JPA for database access, and H2 is an in-memory database. Perfect for learning because it doesn't require setup. Next, open src/main/resources/application properties and add Spring Data Source URL equals JDBC H2 mem testdb Spring Data Source driver class name equals .org.h2 driver spring.jpa hibernate ddl auto equals update spring.h2.co and also enabled equals true. This configuration tells Spring Boot to use H2 in-memory database, automatically create or update tables, and enable a built-in console so we can view the data in a browser later. Now, let's define a model class that represents our data. In this case, a simple user. Create a new package called model, and inside it, a file named user.java. package.com.Beny Sartono Spring Boot tutorial.model import Jakarta persistence entity import Jakarta persistence generated value import Jakarta persistence generation type import Jakarta persistence id add entity public class user. The @entity annotation marks this class as a database table. Each object will be saved as a record. The @ID with @generated value makes the ID auto-increment automatically. Now, we need a way to talk to the database. Create a new package called repository, and inside it, a new interface named user-repository.java. package.com Beny Sartono Spring Boot tutorial repository import.org.springframework.data.jpa repository JPA repository import.com Beny Sartono Spring Boot tutorial model user public interface user repository extends JPA repository. That's all we need. By extending JPA repository, Spring Boot automatically provides methods like save, find all, find by ID, delete by ID, and more. No SQL required. Now let's expose these database operations as REST endpoints. Create a new package controller, and inside it, a file named usercontroller.java. package.com.benysartono.springboottutorial.co-controller import.org springframework.beans.factory annotation autowired import org springframework.webbind annotation asterisk. Add REST controller, add request mapping, users, public class user controller, add autowired, private user repository repo, add post mapping, At get mapping, get all user. Return repo. Find all. At put mapping. At delete mapping. In here, we see error like this. That is because I've forgotten to create the getter setter in the user class. When we use JPA with Hibernate, the framework reads and writes fields using getters, setters. So creating the getter setter in the user class will solve this error. This version now includes get ID, set ID, get name, set name, get email, set email. So your controller's line user set ID will compile fine. Here we have a complete CRUD API. Post creates a user. Get lists users. Put updates them. Delete removes them. Let's run our app. As usual, I prefer to run it under the command prompt. It is easier for me to trace the progress. Here we hit another error, and here is the explanation. Some words like user, order, select, etc. are SQL reserved keywords. H2 sees user and thinks it's referring to the system user definition, not our table. Renaming to users solves this. Now, after fixing it, let's run again our app. Once it starts, open your browser and go to http localhost 8080/h2console. Log in using the default URL JDBC h2 mem testd and click connect. You'll see our user table automatically created. Cool. Now test to the API endpoints using Postman or curl. Post users with JSON. Name Alice. Email alice@example.com. Get users to list all users. Now if we go to the H2 console and run the query, we can see that the user Alice is there. You can continue testing with the other endpoints such as get the user by ID and so on. And that's it. We've just built a complete CRUD REST API using Spring Boot and JPA. We created an entity, repository, and controller connected to the database and tested our endpoints. In the next video, we'll make our API even more robust by adding validation and error handling so users can't send bad data. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more coding tutorials from me, Beny Sartono. Have a great day.